Okay, today we're going to start on Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis 33b at Dini Mamanis Hakol. It's 6 lines from the bottom. Okay, we thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. Thank you. This list of learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. Learning Luminishmas, have a Gold Bas Baruch Binyamin. When's the Yahrzeit? It's this week, right?
No, next week.
Next week.
Yeah, next week, Monday night.
Okay. Finals have been Betzian and Push Lema. Abendov Ben Sarah. Now we get Salah Ben Sarah. Parents and for Jimmy. Chaim Ben Sarah. Okay, so the Mishnah said that when it came to Dini Mamanus, we made a difference between monetary law, we made 10 differences in monetary law and capital law. We said that by Dini Mamanus, anyone is allowed to say why anyone can give their reason why the defendant should be innocent or guilty. When it came to Dini Nefashos, anyone can say why he's innocent, why he should be acquitted, but not why he's guilty. So Hakol, when the Gemara says, when it say anyone, who are you referring to anyone? It says Hakol v'afilu eidim. Even the witnesses that are just there testifying, they're also allowed to say that why he should be innocent, but not why he's guilty. Our Mishnah seems to accord together with Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda, but not with the Rabbanan. The Tanya was taught in a brayso. One witness should not respond with a soul, which means should not testify with the soul. I guess that was referring to Din Nefashos. In other words, he should only say what he needs to say, but he doesn't give any other reasons. That's what he doesn't mix in his logic. Sometimes you have a chazan that likes to give a speech. So we came to hear you sing, not to speak. So here you're here only to testify. Tell me what you saw. Don't tell me anything else. Not your explanations that you learned in yeshiva for why he should be innocent. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda says no. He's allowed to say why the person should be acquitted, but he can't say if he's guilty. We don't listen to him. Amar Rav Papa says, okay, so 1 second. The question was that it seems that our Mishnah would fit with Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda, but not with the Rabbanan. Now that's a little surprise that our Mishnah should be an individual opinion, and it shouldn't fit with the majority of the opinion. So because of that surprise, Rav Papa says, we're not talking about the witness. If the witness is allowed to say his understanding of why the person should be acquitted or not, we're talking about the students that are sitting in the court. They're allowed to say their opinions. The witnesses could fit with the Rabbanan that they're not allowed to say anything extra. We only brought you here to say what you saw. Okay. Now we go back to discuss this brayso that we brought in. My time with Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda. What's Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda's reason that says that he's allowed to say why the witness is allowed to give his logic why the person should be acquitted? Because the pasuk says a lamas. One witness should not testify with the soul to his death. We're on top of 34, which means lamas udeinaina. He can't give his reason for when it says aina. When it says, does that mean the reason testify? In the pasuk, read to me the pasuk in English. A single witness should not speak about a soul. It just means to speak about. It's like to respond to death. To death. Lama sudeina. For death, he doesn't speak. Avalischus aina, but he can speak to make him innocent, to acquit him. And that's what our Mishnah says. And that's what Rabbi Yehuda says. But our Mishnah, we had just adjusted according to Rav Papa that we're talking about the student. Rabbi Yehuda is talking about a witness for the defendant to die.
Yeah, but it's like in Hebrew, it sounds better, no?
Lamos. Yeah.
English doesn't sound.
It's not perfect in Hebrew either, but the Hebrew that we know is from the text, so that's how it works. Rabbanan, what do the Rabbanan say? What do the Rabbanan say that you're not allowed to respond at all? What do they do with Lamas? Amrish Lakish.
Well, someone has to bring a charge. Like someone has to say, like, I saw him do this and that. You know, like it seems to infer that someone can't say that, like everyone's trying to quit him.
No, we're talking about what they saw. The witnesses say what they saw. Just tell us what you saw. They're going to come in and they're going to give us some other reason based on something that they learned in yeshiva. Why, in such a case, it should be. You know, I remember because there's a pasuk and that we learned from that pasuk that this, and therefore he should be innocent.
But it's always too exotic. If they
But
can't find anything bad in
if
itself,
they would have something to exonerate, then we would accept what they're saying. You know, when after they testify, then they say, "I have one more thing, Your Honor. I would like to say that you know." They say, "1 second, are you saying something to his benefit or to his detriment? What are you saying now?" And if he says to his benefit, they say, "Okay, continue."
And if he
Otherwise,
says
they say,
detriment, he just doesn't
"Objection, Your Honor. This is not."
They don't say if it's
we don't listen to him.
Considered the usual case. Now, if the last name is Biden, have some pardon just in case.
Yeah.
Right. What do the Rabbanan do with this pasuk that says that it seems like he could testify if it's l'schus? Rabbanan Amar Rish Lakish says that you see, this is interesting. The witness himself would benefit from the court not accepting it. You're obligated to testify if you know testimony. Especially if there's two witnesses, then you're for sure obligated to testify. But they would benefit if the person is acquitted. And the benefit could be in different ways. One of them is that they won't become Eidim Zayimim. They can't be accused of being false witnesses if the person goes away innocent. They can only be accused if after the psak, before it was carried out. But if the psak is that he's innocent, so then they don't have that option of, because they're in danger until the psak is carried out, and they'll be saved if the person is acquitted. So even though they're testifying that he killed someone, but they would like the court to say that he's innocent. So they may add in a point, but they're negei b'edus, they're biased. Rabbanan haylamas ma'dash. So what does it say to death? If you can't really testify anything, not for the positive, not to acquit him, and not to make him guilty, so what does it mean to death? Which meant that the Rabbi Yehuda understood that meant to just to make him guilty, they can't speak. So mukmila be'echad minat talmidim. That's referring to one of the students, not the witnesses. The students are allowed to say something that will make him innocent, but not to make him guilty. The witnesses can't say anything, not innocent or guilty. Kidatanya, as it was taught in a brisa. Amar echad min ha'edim. If one of the witnesses says, I happen to know a reason why he should be acquitted. How do we know that we don't listen to him? Stop the pasuk short before the lamas. One witness should not speak. How do you know if one of the students says that I have a way to make him guilty? How do we know that we don't listen to him? We should start the pasuk after the word aid. One should not speak regarding a soul to his death to make him guilty, but to make him innocent, the student can speak.
But two.
No, we're talking about just not the testimony itself. We're talking about just to add in other explanations. Okay, now back in the Mishnah, we said that when it came to din nefashos, if one person, when it came to capital punishment, if one person said that he should be acquitted, you can't then say that he should be guilty. Rav says, that's only during the deliberations, the case. When it comes to the verdict, even though he said originally that he should be innocent, he should be acquitted, he's allowed to change his mind and say that he's guilty. Now, otherwise, if we don't say this, then what would happen is during the deliberations, someone is bound to change their mind. So he can't change his mind now after everyone else said their opinion why he's guilty and he thought differently, but now he heard everyone else. Now he decides he wants to. So now he's stuck. This is like the when you belong to a political party or something. Right? You're a registered member or something. Like stuck. You can't. Can you vote the other way? Yeah, you can vote the other way.
No party
Depends on-
anyways.
Huh?
Depends on the state.
I have no party.
At least in the primary, it's like open primary.
So Rav is telling us that when are you not? So it's interesting. During the deliberations, we don't want you to change your mind. We want you to finish your logic till the end. Maybe you'll be able to support it, even if someone, if it's starting to weaken. We want you to hold on to your reason and try to work it out till the end. And then at the end, by the Gemara Din, then you can change your mind. We had that before, and we say that we let him go free, right?
So, but I don't mean this test. More like people start saying like their reasoning, like a very obvious case.
What do you mean? Everyone has a different opinion, and at the end, when it comes to the verdict, then it doesn't matter either majority or unanimous. Yeah,
Unanimous.
unanimous. I think it's fine. I think it was only during the deliberation that halacha that we had before, that if everyone says the same thing, everyone says that he's guilty, we make him innocent. That I don't know if that has to do with the Gemara Din when they take the votes. I think that has to do with, is that by the votes or is that by the deliberation? To look at the Lashon again. Do you remember what page that was on?
And no matter what the defendant says, we don't.
On the bottom of a page. I don't remember. Okay. Okay, where are we holding over here? Rav, we learned the opinion of Rav. Basically, the Gemara has a question on Rav. It says, "L'machras mashkim uvan." The following that you see, there was something called halonas din, where they would do their deliberations, and the next day in the morning they would give their verdict. They would take the vote. So the following day, mashkim uvan, they would enter. Hamizaka Omer. No, he was asking a separate question about that. Hamizaka Omer, the one that was the acquitting, says, "Ani Hamizaka, I'm acquitting. Hamizaka Nibim Kaimi, and I'm standing by my position from yesterday." Mechayev Omer, the one that says that he's guilty, he says, "Ani Mechayev, I'm saying he's guilty. Mechayev Nibim Kaimi, and I'm standing by my position from yesterday." Malamid Chayva, Malamid Tzchos. Someone that said yesterday that he's guilty is today allowed to say that he's acquitting. But someone from yesterday that said that he was acquitting, he's not allowed to say that he's guilty. But 1 second, doesn't fit with Rav. You're coming in the next day. This is for the verdict. This is for taking the vote. Rav said you are allowed to change your mind. The Brisa says you can't. Gemara says all the time, according to your question, there's no deliberation. Maybe we're talking about the deliberation. You're changing your mind. We're talking about in the deliberations itself. You can't change your mind. This was not the vote. We thought when we initially saw this, he said Lamachras. He said, "Oh, it must be the Gemar Din." It's not necessarily. It could be the deliberations would take more than a day. Tashma, come and listen. This is referring to you have the big court of, let's say, 71 judges. 36 say that he's guilty, and 35 say that he's innocent. So we said that that's not enough of a majority. You need a majority of 2. So Dananelu Knegedelu, they continue to the deliberations opposite each other. Until one of the people that said guilty, one of the 36, changes his mind and to say that there's really that he's really innocent. Then from 36 it's going to go down to 35, and the other one is going to be 36, and then there will be innocent. They continue the deliberation until someone changes their mind. One is okay, which means that it's going to work. But if, according to the way you say that you're allowed to change your mind, even from innocent to be guilty, because it's the Gemar Din, it's the verdict, listening Nami Epcha, why doesn't the Brisa say that they judge against each other until it goes either one of the people that say guilty changes their mind, or one of the innocent, one of the people that say he should be acquitted changes his mind, and it would be the same halacha. Then we'll have 2 against 1. It'll be 37 to 34. If Rav is correct, that you're allowed to change your mind, that the Gemara Din from acquitting to guilt. The Gemara says Rav is correct, but Tana's chuska mahada chevela kamada. The Tana wanted to say it in a positive way. He didn't want to say it in a negative way. You have to use the negative example. Yeah. Tashema, so come in here. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, student of Rabbi Yochanan, right? In Eretz Yisrael, he says, like, he teaches like this. This is interesting. This Tashema is not a brisa. Usually the Tashema is a brisa. This is an Amira. It says, Echan min talmidim shazika umes. If one of the students does this mean really one of the students or one of the judges? Yeah. It means a judge. But it means that he was taking his vote. So one of the students that says that he's innocent, he acquits. And then he dies. We imagine that he's still there because we got his vote yesterday. Now, it wasn't really a vote. Yesterday, he just said his opinion. And he died before the vote. We say, okay, but that was his opinion. His opinion was that because he said, when we went around to say, what do you think, what do you think, what do you think, before the vote, and then we're going to do the deliberations. So he said he wants to acquit. So because he died, so we're still going to use his vote from yesterday. Says, why do we use his vote? Rav said that he can switch his mind when it comes to the Gemar Din. How do we know that he's going to hold by what he said? Says Hashtami Alei Hadabei, but so far he didn't change his mind, so we'll assume it's the same. So that's why. Yes, he could have changed his mind, but he didn't. So if he didn't, we're still going to use his vote. Gemara says Vashalchum Nisam, but they sent from Eretz Yisrael. Remember, this is Daf Yitzayin. This is what you were telling me. Who was Shalchum Nisam? When they sent from Eretz Yisrael, it says. Sholchem Yisam is Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina. So in Eretz Yisrael, they said, how could that be? I'm sorry. They said, Sholchem Yisam L'divrei Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, but it can't be that Sholchem Yisam is Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina because we have a Sholchem Yisam they sent from there, which they sent according to Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina. Something's not going to work. So this is what they were quoting. Sholchem Yisam L'divrei Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, Ma'itza Mechlal Rabbeinu. That Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina says differently than Rav. So why are you trying to make them connect? Rav and Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, they obviously say something different. They sent from Eretz Yisrael that Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina argues on Rav. So why are we trying to make the Rav and Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina fit by answering Mi alei hadar? But he didn't change his mind. According to Rav, he would be allowed to change his mind. According to Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, he wouldn't be allowed to change his mind. So the Gemara says, no, the reason why we were trying to make it fit is because Ein Maitze Itmar. They're not arguing. Ein Maitze. It's not taking out from what Rav's statement. He's agreeing with Rav. You have to adjust that message that they sent from Eretz Yisrael. So who now is Sholchem Yisam? Sholchem Yisam, the Gemara said in Daf Yud Zayin, is Rabbi Lazar, not Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina. Rabbi Lazar sent that according to Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, either Rav is arguing with Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina, or Rabbi Yosef is arguing with Rav, or he's not. Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina is not arguing with Rav, but it's not Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina sending that according to Rabbi Yosef Bar Chanina. Yeah, that was the Gemara back on Daf Yud Zayin. Tashema, another question on Rav. Shnei Seifri Dayanim, the two scribes, the two stenographers, Aimdim Lefneim, they stand before them. One on the right and one on the left, and they're writing down the proceedings of the case. And they write the words of the acquitting judges and the words of the ones that are saying guilty. And I understand why they have to write the words of the one that are saying guilty. The reason why they have to do this, they have to write it down, is because let's say tomorrow someone says that he's not going to do what he said yesterday. He's going to change his mind. He's going to say that he's innocent. Yesterday he said guilty. Today, when they continue the deliberations, or by the Gemara Din, he's allowed to change his mind. Well, he's always allowed, even during the deliberations, he can change his mind to acquit. He's going to change. Now, there's a rule that before you do the Gemara Din, you have to always sleep on it. You have to have a Lanas Din. They're going to do it in the morning, the verdict. Because he changed his mind, now they have to postpone it one more day because they have a new vote, right? Someone changed his mind, so they have to wait one more day before they do the verdict. So that's why they have to write it down to see tomorrow if the person changed his mind. But why do they have to write down the words of the people that said that he's innocent? My time, the reason must be because if he wants to say guilty later, we're not going to listen to him. So we want to see what he said first, which means not like Rav. Rav said that he can't change, that he can, change his mind at the Gemara Din. Here we're saying that they're writing it down because we're assuming they're writing it down because they don't want him to change his mind. Gemara says, Loi. I don't know why the Gemara doesn't say, because if he changes his mind, maybe they have to wait one more day as well.
If they write down people, the judges that say guilty, to the left, the ones that you don't write are innocent.
Right. Why do they have to write down the ones that are innocent? So it goes like this. There's a detail here. If they said that he's guilty the first day, and the next day they say he's guilty for a different reason. So even though they both said guilty, but the same person said guilty twice, but we're gonna have to wait another day to sleep on that reason to see if it holds. Okay. However, if it's a divrei mazakin, why do you have to write it down? Yeah.
One reason.
They have to. They write the reasons as well. They could just write plain Zika. Why do they have to write the reason? The reason why they're writing the reason is because they're not going to let him change his mind to a different reason. Once he had a reason to quit, you have to keep by that reason. Not going to change his mind. Gemara says, why is this a question on Rav? If he's allowed to change his mind. Let me see what it says in here.
If he's allowed to change his mind, then he could switch his mind. Right? Yeah, but maybe the acquittal reasons cannot be different, or the guilty reasons can switch from acquittal to guilty.
Besides that, in order to ascertain if any reason for conviction is brought up the next day, new ones. It is obvious that the scribes do not need to record the words of the judges who wish to convict in order to prevent them from reversing their opinion, because judges who originally wish to convict may reverse their view. Okay, which way does this Gemara work? I turn it this way or this way? Go this way. If a judge, 20. Is this apparent that judges who originally argued for acquittal may never change their position even when voting on a verdict? If a judge who had first argued for exonerating the defendant can never change his position even when voting on the verdict, it is understandable why scribes must record all the words, the position, with the reason behind it of each of the judges who argued for acquittal. This is so because we have learned above 33b that if a judge advances an argument for acquittal contradicted explicitly by the Torah, he may reverse his position in favor conviction. Oh, if it's a law which the Sadducees concur. Therefore, if no record were made of the judge's reason, the judge would forget why he originally argued for acquittal and later state that his original position was based on a type of mistake that would allow him to change his vote. Hence, okay. According to Rav, judges may change their opinion and vote for the time of the final vote. What is gained by recording their views? Oh, if they're allowed to change their position according to Rav, then why do they have to write it down? They change their position. Yeah, I don't know why. My question, they're not answering my question. I'm asking, why doesn't the Gemara say? Because maybe if they change their position, we'll have to do another halana stin, just like we said by Mechayven. They're not answering. It's good, helpful Gemara. When you need them, they're not don't pull through. Okay, like technology, right? So the Gemara says, like, it's not a question on Rav. The reason why you have to write the Divrei Hamazakin, the words of the acquitting judges, this is a little surprising. It turns out that it's not just a regular vote when they're taking a vote. Each of the judges need to have an independent reason why. They can't just say, I agree with you. If you say, I agree with the previous judge that said he acquit, then you count them as one judge. He needs to be able to say, I have an independent, my own logical reason that I'm deriving from some pasuk that says why you should be innocent. Look at this. It says, so therefore we need to write down the reasons. Let's say two people said the same reason, but they had different sources in the Torah. Mahu. How is it counted? Is it counted as one or is it counted as two? Because they have different sources. They're only counted as one. How do you know that? Amar Abaya says, well, that's not Rabasi and Rabbi Yochanan. Abaya says, Hashem spoke one, but I heard two. Because the strength is for Hashem. One source one Torah source could go different ways. However, but I don't have one outcome from two different sources. So if I would have one outcome from two different sources, then I would only count it as one.
Is that a generally accepted rule of darshaning?
I don't know. We all the time we have machlekes in about how to darshan something. Well, this one says we'll learn it from here. This one says, I guess when you do that, you say, what is? We always ask. So what does that person do with this pasuk? He does it use it for something else. But you have two psukim that are teaching the same thing. That's the Gemara is not accepting. The Bei Rabbi Shmuel Tana in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel, they taught Gepatish Yifaitzit Sela, like a hammer breaks the rock. Ma patish zeh mischalak l'kam nitzaitz, just like when this hammer it breaks the rock into many sparks. Af mikra echad yetzel l'kam time, also one verse could be interpreted in many different ways. It could go for this way or for that way. Remember where Rashi says this in Chumash? Rashi quotes this in Chumash. He's bringing different interpretations for a pasuk. I think we had it recently.
When they we can learn the same thing from pasuk. Like what happens in cases where they teach the same thing many times.
Then we get to give it an extra lav punishment. We get makes it add something. What's an example of one reason coming from two different psukim? Amar Rav Svid. It's funny because the Gemara just said this is something that we don't do. It says, give me an example of something that we don't do, and you're going to bring me some that they're going to do it, right?
I think the answer for halacha versus just
I think for halacha it is acceptable, and then as a reason in court it's not acceptable.
It seems like if you can understand different pshat, remes, like you can learn different things, but when it comes to halacha, you can only learn one thing from each pasuk.
Right, that's fine. Now we're learning that you can learn two things from a pasuk, but you can't learn one thing from two psukim. You can't not one thing. You can't learn the same thing from two psukim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and here's an example of, I guess, what you're not supposed to do. Kidditanan was taught in a Mishnah. Mizbeach mekadesh esaroyalai. This is talking about someone brings a sacrifice, which became invalid somewhere after it was already offered. Rabbi Yeshua says, Kol haroyala ishim, anything that was eligible to be placed on the fire, im Allah, once it's brought up onto the fire, la yerid, you don't take it down. Shnemer ha'ila al maikta, the burnt offering on the fire. Ma oila shirili ishim, just like the oila, the burnt offering is fit to be put on the fire. That's how it's brought. It's burnt on the fire. Im also, once it's brought up, la yerid, you don't take it down. Of kol shirili ishim, anything that was eligible to be brought as a sacrifice, im Allah, once it's brought up, la yerid, you don't take it down, even though there's something that happened in the Azara that made it possible. Once it's brought up, it's like grandfathered in. It's taken up. You don't take it down. Rabbi Gamliel says the same halacha, but kol mizbeach, not from the fire. He says anything that's fit, that's worthy eligible to go on the mizbeach. Once it's brought up, you don't take it down. He adds in the words ala mizbeach, on the altar. Ma oila shirei legam mizbeach, just like the oila is fit for the top of the mizbeach. Once it's brought up, you don't bring it down. Of kol shirei lemizbeach imala lo yered. Once it's brought up, you don't bring it down. So they learned the same thing from two different words in that pasuk. Tavayo mai kamarbu. What are both things? What are both sources including? Psulin, something that was invalid, that you don't take it off the altar because it became invalid. Mar ma'islim and maikta, mar ma'islim and mizbeach. This one brings it up. This one says that you can't take it down because it says the word maikta, which means fire. This one says you can't take it down because it says mizbeach. So this is they're learning the same halacha from two different sources. It says v'hasim miplik pligi of no. There's over there. There's actually a machlekes. The Tani Seifa ein bein divrei Rabbi Gamliel the divrei Bishua ela hadam anasachim. No, over there, each one depending on how they learn it, you're going to come out with a distinction. According to who was the first opinion that was Rabbi Yeshua. It says that anything that's eligible to go on the fire that would not include the blood, which doesn't go on the fire, that gets sprinkled, or it doesn't include the libations, the pouring of the wine or oil. That doesn't go on the fire, according to Rabbi Gamliel, but it still goes on the mizbeach. Okay, so there's a machlekes. They're not learning the same thing. Rabbi Gamliel says you don't take it down because it does go on the mizbeach, because it doesn't go on the fire. Let's go to another source. They're really looking for something that they're not allowed to. I would think that would be a teretz, even though you're not supposed to get the same halacha from two sources. And now we just answered that it's not the same halacha because it comes out in Afkamina. Rav Papa says like the following verse. Rabbi Yossi Glili says he's a friend of Rabbi Akiva. Anything that touches the altar becomes consecrated. I would understand whether it was eligible or not eligible. It says sheep. It's only things that were eligible to be on the altar that you don't take them down. But something that was never eligible, you do take it down. Akiva says oila. It says oila. So ma oila ruya afkol right. It has to be something that was eligible. So here again, we have the same halacha being learned from two different sources. What are they both excluding? Psule, something that was never fit to go on the altar. Mar Maisilem Mikvasim, Rabbi Yossi Glili brings it from sheep. Mar Maisilem Ma'ila, Rabbi Kiva brings it from the word Oila. The difference between them would be an Oila Sa'if that's invalid. A burnt offering, that's a bird. Because according to Manda Maisilem Mikvasim, which is Rabbi Yossi Glili, Kvasim in Aval Oila Sa'if Lai, birds are not sheep. So that this wouldn't include the Oila Sa'if. Manda Maisilem Ma'ila, the one that brings it from the Oila, which that was Rabbi Akiva. So the burnt offering that's a bird has the same halacha. Once it's brought on the altar, you don't take it down. Elam Ravashi, we're looking for another source of something that both of them are the same. We have one halacha being learned from two different sources. Kedetanya, we're taught in a brayso. Dam yichashav lishahu dam shafach. It's talking about someone that offers a sacrifice outside the temple. The rabbi says, this is coming to include someone that sprinkles the blood outside the altar, outside the temple as well. Besides someone that offers the offering, but also someone that sprinkles the blood would have the same category. Div Rabbi Shmuel, that's the words of Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva Aimer oy zevach. It says or a sacrifice. The rabbi says when it says oy, or it's coming to include someone that sprinkles the blood. Here we have the same halacha being learned from two different sources. Either it's dam shafach or it's oy. But what are they both including? That there's going to be a very serious punishment for someone that offers a sacrifice outside the temple. They're both including zrika, where if someone sprinkles the blood of a sacrifice. Mar maisalami dam yechash. I'm sorry, not from dam shafach, dam yechashiv. One brings it from the blood. It is considered. Mar maisalami oy zevach. Another one is learning from zevach. Gemara says 1 second. If someone slaughters and sprinkles the blood in one forgetting that he's not allowed to do this, then is that one violation or two violations? So if you learn from Oizebach, Rabbi Yishmael, according to Rabbi Yishmael, that he learned from Dam Yechashev Enechai Valachas, that's considered one offering. Because the offering, the shechting, and the sprinkling is learned from the same source. So that's only considered one prohibition. But the Rabbi Kiva chayiv shtayim, but it's Rabbi Kiva going to be chayiv too, because he is learning from the oy zevach. From the oy is a different source. But it's maralav. But the Gemara says 1 second. Amar Abai after the Rabbi Kiva nami and a chayav alachas. Even according to Rabbi Kiva, you only chayav one. So here we're going to have both of them are getting exactly the same halacha, because what we thought would be a distinction between them is actually not. Because the pasuk says Sham Tala Leisachav Sham Tasa. Over there you will bring your, when it's referring to the Beis Hamikdash, you will bring your burnt offerings. Over there you will do your service. Arvinu Rachmana L'Kulei Asiyas. The Torah mixes them all together, which means that also when you do it outside, it's all going to be one prohibition, and you're only going to have one violation, even if you do all the services.
Question. I'm a little confused. So if the rule is that one pasuk can be used to give multiple meanings, but multiple pasukim cannot be used to give the same meaning.
Right.
And each dayan has to state his reason, and he can't say the same reason as another person, because then it's not two
Same.
opinions.
Right.
So let's say to convict, and based in a 23, you need to come up with 13 different pasukim to support.
Right.
I mean, that sounds like it would be a pretty hard thing to do. I mean, what if it's, if it's a simple case, if there's no argument about the facts, someone committed a voda zora in public, he was warned by two kosher witnesses on a timely basis, yada, yada. And
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, and that seems to contradict the idea that somebody would be swayed by another person's opinion if they're greater, because they would have to come up with a different reason anyway.
Right.
They might try to make it fit.
I'm getting a piato for you.
Right. No, I do.
Pasuk, but you can't come up with different halachas from the same pasuk.
Yeah, that you can't come up with. No, you come up with different halachas from the same pasuk. You can't come up with the same halacha from two different pasukim. What's coming out, Rabbi Naftali, what's coming out is that we are coming out. If the person wants to acquit, he has to bring a different pasuk. So, but he's coming out with the same conclusion, but maybe it's not the same logic. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Dini Mamanis is done by Yom. Dini Mamanis is done by then another few minutes. Let's see how far we can get. Dini Mamanis is done by Yom. You do monetary cases by day, but you're allowed to finish them by night. And capital punishment have to all be done by day. Minan Emili, how do we know this? Amra Chia Bar Papa. Chia Bar Papa says, you judge the people at all times. Huh? That means you can finish at night. It says at all times. So why can't we start the case at night? That's Kidder Rava. That's like Rava says. The Rava posed the contradiction. One pasuk says you judge the nation at all times. That means at night. Ksiv will be on the day then he bequeaths to his son. It means by day. Okay, it said, how is it by day and how is it by night? The day is the way the case starts. Laila ligmardin, but the night is where the case concludes. Asnisan like Reb Meir, the Gemara says that our Mishnah doesn't fit with Reb Meir the Tanya. So in a brayso, Reb Meir used to say, Matal Madlaimar, what's the meaning of the pasuk that says Al Piyam Yakol Reb Chalnega? On the mouth of the Sanhedrin will be all arguments, will be the verdict for all arguments and all leprosy. The Chimanian Riv Meitzel Nagam. What is the connection between arguments and leprosy? Rather, we do a comparison. Just like when it comes to seeing leprosy, you have to see it by day. On the day that he will see it. Also judgments, but with over arguments, that's also done by day. Just like leprosy, the person can't be blind, the kohen can't be blind that looks at it. The has to go to the eyes of the kohen, he has to be have vision. Also in the court, the judges need to have vision. We do a comparison. Just like when it comes to arguments, judgments. It can't be relatives. Also, when it comes to leprosy, you can't use relatives to take a look at the tzaras. You're doing a comparison. Then maybe just like judges, you need to have 3 judges. So too with leprosy, you need to have 3 kayanim. When it comes to his money, you need 3 judges. When it comes to his body, for sure you shouldn't need 3 judges. Talmud Laimar, the pasuk says, you bring it to Aaron or to one of his sons, which means you only have to bring it leprosy to one person. But we learned from this that even one kayan could see the negaim. Okay, that's what we learned. Now, why were we bringing this in? Because we wanted to show that that Reb Meir holds that it needs to be done by day. The judgment needs to be done by day. Ahusuma. Okay, let's leave it. Let's stop by Ahusuma. We're gonna have to learn tomorrow night.
Have to.
We're gonna want to. Right.
Rabbi Smith,
Yeah. How are you?
David Eisman, hi.
Hey.